Okay, so welcome back to the Beard and Broke podcast. Today, we thought it would be quite interesting for us to talk about where were you when? So, remembering specific memories, obviously, for us relating to sport. And we've basically come up with three main categories. The first of which is the Football World Cup. Obviously, the most recent one, that was 2 years ago, 2018. I have very fond memories. That's probably for me my most enjoyable World Cup experience by far. Specifically for me because I was very pessimistic going into that. I didn't think England were going to do particularly well, and obviously we ended up making the final. And everything that happened along the way was just, for me, was just awesome. So that's probably so that was probably my most recent memory and definitely my favorite memory by far. Um,
Mm.
like, especially it's especially funny because I was studying in Germany at the time, and there weren't many of us English altogether. It was kind of a mix of international students from the US, from Australia, and all across Europe, and don't forget New Zealand as well. Uh, yeah, and we all just went out and got absolutely battered. And I can see Dan's dog playing in the background. It's brilliant.
Right, not to distract you, sorry.
But yeah, that was by far and away my favourite football World Cup memory.
So, yeah, of course, 2018 was the most recent World Cup. So, um, to begin with, I was travelling quite a lot in 2018. So I graduated
Yeah,
from uni, and my girlfriend and I went travelling to Thailand. So, of course, at the start of the World Cup, we're still in the country, in and out. And then I remember the Colombia game when we won on penalties. It was actually my girlfriend's birthday, and we went out to the restaurant. And every 5 minutes, I got my phone out to check the scores. Ended up persuading her family to go to the pub afterwards so we could actually watch the game. And I was like, you're not gonna regret this. We need to go. Anyway, we went to the pub, and of course they won the penalties. And I was like, well, have you ever lived to a day where England have won on penalties in the tournament?
I have there's a brilliant video that my Greek friend took when we won that penalty shootout, and obviously we all lose our shit and we get up, and
Yeah.
I think one of the English girls, she's jumping around celebrating, and I don't know why I did this. I just kind of grabbed her and just kind of tried to lift her up, lost my balance, and kind of fell forwards into the guy that was recording the video. It looked so bizarre. It looked like I was trying to do some MMA shit on her. I reckon if I can find the video, I'll try and uh, record, like put it into this video. But it'll just, oh man, like, and that was the first time, wasn't it, that England won a major penalty shootout? I'm pretty sure.
Well, in a major tournament, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is actually insane to think that England have won the World Cup and haven't won a penalty shootout in a major tournament.
Well,
But I remember because we flew to Thailand a few days after that. I think it was literally the next day. And when we flew out, of course, England had played. Was it Sweden? Or was it at some
it
point? I
was
think.
Sweden in the quarterfinals. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was Sweden, and we went to an Irish bar in Bangkok, and a German bloke was sat next to us, and I remember not really trying to make any conversation because I didn't know if he spoke English, like it could have been from anywhere else. I didn't just assume.
A good chance that he did speak English. Most
So
Germans speak English quite well, don't they?
yeah, well, I didn't know that.
Well,
So
yeah.
the kind of when you go traveling and you see someone who's Western, you kind of just go and speak to them because you associate them with home. And I think that's one of the best parts of traveling, going around and just being able to speak to someone so freely and openly. So I started speaking to him, and I think it literally went from, oh, whereabouts in England are you from, to, ha, Germany's out of the World Cup. And luckily for me, he found it quite funny. He was like, yeah, well, it's kind of like a tradition of the winners, isn't it, to go out in the group stages? Because I think every single winner of the World Cups actually ended up going out in the group stages in the following World Cup.
Yeah, that was another thing that I was going to mention was kind of, obviously I was in Germany at the time when they got out in the group stage, and it was so weird going around watching everyone. It was like someone had died. Everyone, the whole nation was just like, oh my god, what the fuck has happened? Because they were fully expecting to do really well in that tournament.
Yeah,
And
I guess it doesn't really help with Germany as well, because they're such a big footballing nation as well, aren't they? It's not like football is a minor sport there.
no, the top three sports in Germany are football, football, and football, and that is it. So if they don't do well in that tournament, then it wasn't. Obviously, me being English, like after the first round of games had happened, Germany had lost their first game to Mexico, and England had won our first game against, I think it was Tunisia or something like that. And
Yeah.
obviously, after England won their game, we all went out. And I was really, really drunk at the time, and I was going around chanting, "England's fucking amazing, Germany's shit at football." In
That's a good
Germany.
one to start a nice friendly fight.
My friends had to drag me away because they were really scared of me starting a fight, and people were like shoving me, "Oh, get out of here, English." So we did better than you. Tough shit. Shame.
Yeah, the one time we actually do better.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to make the most of it, haven't you?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, the what the thing the day that I will forever remember is that semi-final day. No, not that semi-final. The quarter-final day against Sweden, because it was a Saturday, and that day in Cologne was also Gay Pride. So we went to festival, not festival, but how would you describe it?
I think
Like
people
a
will know what you
market
mean.
of sorts. So there were a bunch of
Yeah, it's a
stalls
festival, isn't it?
yeah, so the Saturday was like stands pretty much where people would give away things and all those kind of things. I remember some of the girls that I went with went and got piercings in their ear, for example. And we went straight from there to, there was this field where they had a big screen erected to show football games. And obviously for the Germany games, that was packed. But because it was England versus Sweden, it was virtually empty.
Yeah.
So we went in there, got drunk, and started chanting abuse at the Swedes after we started winning. My personal favourite was "You're shit, but your birds are fit."
Very good chant, actually.
That was sick. And obviously, I got incredibly drunk, and then went home steaming, and then we went out for Gay Pride, all of us, and that was just oh man, that was such a good day, honestly. Sunny as well, perfect weather. England won. Brilliant day, honestly. Where were you for that game? Oh, you said.
So I think I was well. I went to visit you, didn't I, in Cologne, right at the beginning of the World Cup. Oh, did the World Cup even start then? I think it was on the brink of starting, and then I went over to Israel, which I was there for the Tunisia game. I think the first game, I think it ended up being like 6-1 or something silly like that. Of course, came back the Colombia game quarters. Was back here, and then next day I flew out. I was in Bangkok for the Sweden game, and that's when I was in the Irish bar, and pretty much the whole bar, like pub, was full of England fans just in Bangkok. So it was a pretty safe place to be at, excluding the one German fan sat next to me, but he was all right.
Yeah, but they were out by that point, so they weren't a threat.
Yeah, he didn't really care. He was just there to watch football. And then after that, did some more travelling. And I think for the semi against Croatia, was it?
It was Croatia.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah. It was against Croatia. That was in Koh Samui. I think. And then for the third place game off sorry, that was again Koh Samui, which is an island, like quite a touristy island. That was again an Irish pub where we actually went to watch France win the World Cup there. But weirdly enough, there was a lot of French people. Like honestly, the whole like high street in I don't know if any of the viewers have been to Koh Samui, but there's the Fisherman's Village, which is like up north of the island.
Right.
They've got a market every Friday. I don't know if they still do, but when I went, they had a market every Friday, and I think the game was on a Saturday night or something like that. So, and the third place game was on the Friday night. So everyone was packing up from their market, and then the game went on, Belgium against England. But all the England fans just didn't really give a shit anymore because all the Belgian players who play for the national team play in the Premier League anyway, or at the time they did. And it was like, well, like Chelsea supporters, Man United supporters, whatever other supporters, like your players are playing, then you want them to do well. And also, no one really wants to win the third place game. It's like, it's not the final, is it? So that was quite a chilled one. And yeah, got quite drunk. And weirdly enough, I was sat next to one of the divers who, I don't know if you remember, in Chiang Rai with the football team going under and being stuck in a cave, literally. Yeah. He was one of the divers who actually went and saved the kids. And yeah, at the time I was like, oh, this is quite cool. Didn't really think anything of it. And I remember when I actually had internet connection, I went on my phone and I was like, oh crap, this is a lot bigger than I thought it was. Went on my phone, checked it out, and I was like, crap, this is the guy who's like on the news everywhere, just sat next to me, had a conversation for an hour, asked me to look after his beer. That was...
And that was the guy that Elon Musk called a paedophile, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. That escalated very quickly, didn't it?
Fuck, Dan, you hung out with a pedo.
Yeah, I had a nonce sat next to me, didn't I?
Oh, fuck, of course you did. Of all people.
Brilliant.
I'm trying to remember the semi-final, because it was the evening for us. And that was like a Tuesday? No, it was a Wednesday. And that was like the last day, like the last proper week of lectures, because I was studying in Germany, doing a semester abroad. Yeah, so that was like the last proper gathering of like all of the international group. And when Kieran Trippier took that free kick that he scored, as soon as he kicked it, the main screen cut out. So we were all on the edge of our seats, screen cuts out, and we all turn, start looking towards the other screen at the end of the bar, see that he scored, and then lose our shit. Oh man, that was brilliant. And then
good times, aren't they? Like, you think about it with everything that's going on at the moment. You think, are we ever going to be able to do that again? Like, just stand in crowds and all that sort of thing. Don't get me wrong, we probably will be able to in like 10 years' time. But you know, in a year's time or any time in the near future, you do think, like, to yourself, or I do anyway. It's weird to think how much our life's going to change over the next few years.
I mean, I think, when all of this broke out, I was thinking, okay, September's probably going to be the earliest that we're going to go back to going to be like when we're going to go back to normality. But now I'm holding out hope for Christmas. Seriously, that's the point we're at right now. Like,
everyone is saying that, 2021 is going to be better. 2020 has just been shit, and I agree, but I just don't think 2021 is going to be any better. Literally, have absolutely no hope for the next 2 years or so, and as depressing as that sounds, and as pessimistic as that sounds, it's just, I'd rather not get my hopes up and think, 2020 is going to finish, and then it be 2021 be shit, and just me being really sad. So it is weird because football as a sport, prime sport that we're discussing now, crowds make such a big influence on the whole atmosphere where you're not really going to get that for the next however long until crowds are allowed back in, which is really sad because every stadium is going to be a Man City stadium now. No fans and artificial sound.
That's so true. Is this going to be like supporting Man City now?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't know.
Well,
yeah.
you'll know as a Chelsea fan, but come on.
Ooh, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because seats are sold out every week, but not the fans are just quiet and they're there wanting and demanding more rather than singing.
I was referring more to the whole having money thing than the fans.
Right. Okay. Got you there. If you look at the last 5 years, I'll bring a bit of statistics into this.
Oh God. Okay.
If you look at the last 5 years, top spenders have been Man City, of course, no shadow of a doubt. I think Man United are second because of how much they've been trying to buy and recruit and straighten out what they've fucked up after Ferguson, basically. That could have been our first bleep right there, what I just said accidentally. And I think, I'm not sure, but Chelsea or Arsenal are after that. So, no, Spurs. Of course, Spurs have got to be up there, haven't they? Because they've been buying quite a lot. They've had a year out of spending, and they've gone out to buy the likes of Lucas and what's the other players, Aurier and all that. So anyway, all I'm saying is Chelsea are not who they used to be 15 years ago when the Abramovich just took over.
And to be fair, you've got a sick academy now. Every single year, you've got great young players that you don't play, apart from this last year when Lampard had to play them.
Yeah. It was a blessing in disguise, wasn't it, with that happening?
Yeah. Like the perfect storm. But coming back to World Cups.
Yes.
And all that is the actual topic, Daniel. Come on. The whole, like my most disappointing tournament by far, or at least one that I can remember, was that 2010 tournament. Because we were in was it the round of 16 against Germany? It's 2-1, England are 2-1 down. Lampard takes that shot from outside the penalty area. It hits the crossbar, goes behind the line and bounces back out, but they say that it's not a goal.
Yeah, that would have been a game changer, wouldn't it? Funny story about that game, actually.
Yeah.
I was watching it at home with my family, and Lampard's just kicked that ball, went over the line. And I think that game was on a Saturday because I've just come back home from Saturday morning training and was watching that game. Goal wasn't given, so I was kind of drifting away, and Germany went and scored. It was 3-1 at this point, and then as I was about to drift off, it was 4-1. So I was like, I haven't got the energy to watch this. Ended up falling asleep on the couch. As I fell asleep, it was 4-1. And when I wake up, my dad sat next to me going, oh, go on, wake up. It was like 6 o'clock by this time. I was slept like for the whole day. And I was like, oh, what was the score? And he goes, oh, it was 5-4. England won one of the best games. Like, it was one of the best games England have played. And I was like, no. And I literally went on my phone straight away. I started running around. I was like, there's no way that was 5-4. Anyway, I don't need to continue the story. I was mugged off by my dad.
That's brilliant. I love that.
Yeah, well,
I'm disappointed.
Some of the stuff that he's done to me with football as well.
Oh, really?
Going a little bit off topic. So as you know, don't know if anyone else knows, I used to be a swimmer. That's why Saturday morning training I would have been at. I didn't get a lot of sleep when I was younger because of training and a load of workload from school and whatnot. So I was a very heavy sleeper, and to wake me up, it was a very difficult situation because I could sleep through any sort of alarm or anything like that. So my dad used to come into my room every so often when he used to try and wake me up. And he used to tell me shit like, oh, Lampard signed for Barcelona when he was like in his prime. And I'd be like, what? He used to get up in a panic, be absolutely like stressed out from the fact that we've just lost our best player. And he's like, oh yeah, just wanted to get out of bed. That's the sort of shithousery he used to give me.
Wow. Your dad sounds like a fucking legend.
He is a KGB spy.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
He
Many
doesn't admit
years,
but what spy would.
many years after the KGB was disbanded, he's still doing his work for the glory of the Soviet Union. But Dad, the Soviet Union doesn't exist anymore. No, it's fine. It's fine.
It exists in here.
Takes a shot of vodka. Time to take on these capitalist pigs.
These Western spies, how dare they?
Exactly. But no, I don't have any. I was just thinking about other World Cups. I don't have any other prominent memories from 2014 because 2014 was just a shit show.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, 2010 and 2014 were both quite shit shows, to be honest.
Oh, I just remembered the 2016 Euros. I know it's obviously not the World Cup. Euros. That was 2016. That was my only so far kind of lads holiday, and we were in Turkey, and we were there for the game when England played against Iceland, and we're thinking, oh great, we've got this, boys. And what was it in the end? 2-0, 2-1.
I don't remember.
It might even have been worse than that, but we managed to lose to Iceland. And we were just there in a bar whilst a bunch of Icelandic people, I don't know if they were actually Icelandic or just Scandinavian, were shouting at the top of their lungs, yeah! And we're like, oh, for fuck's sake.
That's embarrassing, isn't it?
Very, very embarrassing. And we're watching it with what's those big jugs? It's like a fishbowl, isn't it?
Yeah, fishbowl.
It's a concoction of different spirits. We're just sipping on them, like crying into it. Not a good evening at all. And then we went out and got absolutely battered.
Yeah, I don't really, of course, England are not really, well, haven't been that good in major tournaments before 2018. So my first memory of a World Cup was actually watching the World Cup final in 2006. And I remember it was Italy against France. And of course, Zidane's famous headbutt occurred in that game. And when that happened, I remember, because of course the camera wasn't on Zidane doing it. It was on the actual play when the goalkeeper was about to kick it. I was saying, oh, he didn't do anything. Why was he sent off? What's going on? He can let him off with a yellow. Like, surely that's okay. And then looking back at it now, it's like, oh my God, why was I saying that?
Exactly. I was so fucking retarded.
10-year-old me's got no idea about football whatsoever.
Nah, man, nah. I was asking my dad, I remember asking my dad about kind of his regrets as a father. He said one of the things he said was sending me to bed at half time of that game.
Really?
So I think France were 1-0 up at half time after Zidane scored the penalty that went off the crossbar, and then he sent me to bed. I'm sure I don't know how many regrets he has, but there was something.
So why was there a regret? What's his reason for that?
Not when he watched the World Cup final. He just went, oh, fuck off to bed. And I can't remember how old I was. Like, I don't know how old I was, but still, devastated, absolutely devastated.
Well, you couldn't have been that old, so I mean, it was probably quite late for you.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah. Should we do the Rugby World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a massive rugby fan, but I've watched rugby
memories of the Rugby World Cup at all, besides this last year when I
Yeah,
watched the
I've
final.
got one.
Go on.
So of course we went to a bar at 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, it is a bar across the road from mine when South Africa beat the shit out of us. Um, we before that it would have been 2015 when
Mm.
the World Cup was in England,
Mm.
and funnily enough, the South Africa base was the uni campus that we were at. Of course, you weren't there.
Yeah.
But they were there, and I remember them walking past. I didn't really make anything of it.
What they use the gym and things.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Um, I didn't really make anything of it. That was it, and they were just doing their thing, and I was like, oh, it's just people, like. And then someone was like, oh, that's the South African rugby players, and I was like, oh, well, it's a bit late now. They've all walked out. But that's the other memory I've got. So there was that game. I think it was England against Wales or something like that. It was a domestic game where I was at the student union. It was one of the first few nights. It must have been like in Freshers' Week where that would have happened, because I remember some Welsh guy dropping a pint and everyone absolutely slaughtering him in the student union, which was hilarious. It was one of my first few experiences at the student union.
Mm.
But that would probably be my only other real memory of a World Cup. I think I remember 2007 vaguely.
Yeah.
But I don't remember. I don't remember watching any games. I literally just remember sitting in my maths class in school and talking to the guy who sat next to me about it. And of course, I've had no idea like much about rugby at all. And I was telling him that football is so much better, and we were just basically having an argument: what's better, football or rugby? That's what I remember.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even start watching rugby in 2007, to be honest. So you probably knew more than me. Like the first Rugby World Cup that because I just started playing rugby in 2011 when the World Cup was in New Zealand. And New Zealand, obviously, they're massive, massive rugby players, but they hadn't won it since 1987. And for them, that was this great tragedy. And it was in New Zealand, and they were able to go all the way to the final and end up winning it against the French, who were, well, very typically French, really. They had great, great performances all the way up to the final, and then they got to the final, and then they shut the bed. Or New Zealand were just better.
I would go for the latter, to be honest.
You kind of hope so, but then you haven't watched French rugby. French rugby is so not schizophrenic, but it changes rapidly. Like in the most recent World Cup in 2019, they played Wales in the quarter-final. And the first half, they were absolutely amazing. They were dominating Wales. And then in the second half, they were doing all right. It's a bit shaky. And then one of the French players, for no reason, just decided to punch a Welsh player in the face. Obvious,
I've seen that. Yeah.
Obvious red card, and then it just went downhill from there. It made no sense at all, and that's why I talk about them being typically French, because they're absolutely amazing, and then they just go and fuck it up, all on their own.
I mean, that's one way to put it. I remember seeing that, but of course I didn't really think of who it was. I didn't really make anything of it. Yeah. But no, I remember, of course, you came over the night before the final because we planned to go out to actually watch it all together. And I remember being so hyped about it because I was like, oh, well, England are in the final, like, surely there's got to be a chance.
We New Zealand on the way there, didn't we? On the way to the final. And so I can imagine to someone who didn't know rugby, you probably would have been thinking, oh, New Zealand are amazing at rugby. That means England are going to win. Well, I was a bit sceptical going into the final, but that was proven to be right.
I don't think I was almost like had my mindset on England beating South Africa because I was, there's always a chance for the other team to win, but England was so hyped up over the whole tournament, how well they were playing. I thought, oh, well, there's got to be a chance because they're saying they beat New Zealand in the semis. It was New Zealand, wasn't it, in the semis?
It was, yeah. Best England performance I've ever seen.
That's it. and everyone was saying, "Oh, England have played so well. Like we're going to do this. There's a chance." And South Africa got around England tactically, didn't they? They
No,
knew what to do.
they just went through them. New Zealand's style of play is very physical, and they just outmuscled England. They just beat the shit out of us. That's basically how it happened.
Well, that's what I mean. There's some sort of tactic. They approached it in a "fuck you, we know how to get around you."
True. And the game kicked off at like 8 in the morning, didn't it, or 8:30? And
Yeah, something silly like that.
yeah, I remember being pretty drunk by half time. And having to go through and sober up the rest of the day. If we'd won, I'd have carried on drinking the whole day.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things where I think I had a drink and I went, "Oh, well, I haven't had a drink at 9 o'clock in the morning since my last holiday or whatever, if I even did that." But then I was like, I will definitely continue drinking and it will be a mess of a day if England win. But fortunately, it just didn't happen, did it?
Yeah. I just, after we lost, I was like, there's no point continuing this. It's just sad.
It's just going to turn into a depressed Jane and start crying.
Exactly. I'll let all my negative emotions out all at once, which is pretty much what happens.
Yeah.
We did have a third topic, but I reckon we'll leave that for another episode. I feel like we've got quite a lot out of this. So yeah, if you've got to this point, thank you very much. And we'll see you next week.